Let's talk about Google Opal. This is their tool that lets you build, edit, and share mini AI apps using natural language. What does that mean? So this will use Gemini, the Gemini models that you've seen before if you use the Gemini app, and then like Gemini chatbot, and then also video models, music generation models, the image models, etc. There's a lot of stuff that's in here. So if you, let me go back to the beginning. If you want to follow along with this, you can just go to opal.google and you get to this screen. If you don't see this screen, then you're probably not logged in. You have to log in, you have to accept all the privacy stuff that they say on there, and you'll see the screens, and then you'll get to this screen. And just a quick tour of the screen. If you have any apps created, they list them up here. This is obviously how you create a new app by clicking on Create New, and then they have a gallery of apps. You can run any of these apps as is, or you can remix them and then build them however you want. So I'm going to start with Create New just to show you, give you an idea of how this works, and then I'll come back to the gallery and show you some of those, and then I'll go through one or both of the ones that I have created. So when you come in here, like I just clicked on Create New, you come in here and then you only have 4 different building blocks. You have user input, you have generate, you have output, and you have add assets. So let's go through each of them. So user input is literally what it sounds like. It's just, it lets you put something in. It lets you give information that will be used somehow. So this is usually something that you're going to type in. And generate is using some kind of one of the AI models. So you look over here on the right, and then you have the same thing. Generate, here's your node, and then here's generate, and then you click here to expand, and now the default is Gemini 2.5 Flash, but then you have all of these other models that you can choose from. So 2.5 Pro, 3 Pro, Plan and Execute with 2.5 Flash, Deep Research with 2.5 Flash, Imagen, which is an image model that they used to use within the Gemini chatbot, but now it's in like AI Studio, and if you do any kind of API access, you can use Imagen 4. And they have Gemini 2.5 Flash Image, which is Nano Banana. They have Gemini 3 Pro Image, which is Nano Banana Pro. Audio LM will actually generate speech from text. And Veo creates short videos, and then Lyria 2 creates music. Again, if you've only used the Gemini chatbot, you probably haven't seen all these. But there's a lot that you can just do with those models. But then moving on, output just lets you actually get your final thing that you want. And you can have a manual layout, you can have a web page, you can save it to Google Docs, so save it to slides, save it to sheets. And then you can add different assets. You can upload a file from your computer, you can upload something from my drive, something from YouTube, some piece of text or some drawing. It doesn't necessarily seem like a ton of stuff, but there are, I don't even know, hundreds of thousands of possibilities just with those things. And so, I mean, these are your building blocks, and you can come in here and then select one or more nodes for each of them, and then you can connect them together to do stuff. Know that you can always come down to the bottom, and you don't need to do any of this. So if I highlight all these and delete them, I can just come down to the bottom section here and just type out a description of what I want. And then this is using Gemini. I think it starts with 2.5 Flash, and it'll use Gemini to try to figure out what combination of nodes I want up here. So you don't have to actually build out all the nodes. You have a choice here, and then you can also use the dictation here. If you don't want to type, you can just speak into your microphone, and then same thing. So that's the foundation of what you can do. So let me go through, so I'm going to delete that because I don't really need that. I didn't really build anything there. I'm going to look at some of their examples, because if like you see that and you're like, oh, that might be interesting, but what would I really build with that? So there's a blog post writer. So maybe you have a blog, you want to start a blog, and then this is now using those building blocks to put them together for an app. So on the right here, it has the different steps. This is a preview of a completed app. Console lists out your steps, and then the other two, they're grayed out right now, so it doesn't really matter. I'm going to go on console because it might be a little bit easier to follow. But you go through, you get a topic, and this is input. So you're going to type in some kind of topic, and then it's going to go to, that's the Gemini icon, so it's going to go to whichever model and do some amount of research. It's going to write an outline, create a banner image, write a post, and then display a blog post. There's actually a lot going on here. But each of these generate nodes, they're actually running a different, like think of this as if you were in Gemini and you were typing out like write a blog post and you have this really long multi-step prompt, and sometimes it works in like the Gemini chatbot and sometimes it doesn't. If you put in too many steps or they're too complex or you don't really do a good enough job describing it, or there are a bunch of ways that it can just not really work the way you want it to, and it can hallucinate and can do a bunch of things. One of the ways you can, help that out is to chop up what you want to do into individual tasks. And that's what this is doing. This is taking your topic, and then first it's doing research, and then it's writing an outline, and then it's writing the banner, creating the banner, etc. But you can click into each of these nodes and then see the details over here of what the actual prompt is, and then see what model it's using. So once you get your input, and this is literally just you type something in, and then it's going to use plan and execute with 2.5 flash, and then this is your prompt. And you have tools that you can use. This is using search the web and get web page, and then that output goes to write outline, etc. This one is kind of involved. Let me find one that's a little more straightforward. Business profiler. So this one is really straightforward. This is just input, generate, and then actually another generate. But okay, so you're going to collect a web address. So you pick whatever website address you want, and then you're going to use Gemini 2.5 Flash, and you're going to use the tools listed below to research the business. And whatever the business is, it's whatever you put in here. And then it's going to use search maps, search web, and get web page. And then with those tools, it's going to look for these attributes: products and services, target customers, and company vision, and customer reviews. And go through, et cetera, and then it's going to summarize using Gemini 2.5 Flash. And it's going to write a summary about the business with those things that it collected here. Again, you can take this and run it as is, you can remix it, and then maybe you want to add another step in here. There's a ton that you can do in here. So maybe that's not interesting to you. This is a city builder. This one is really involved, but it's basically enter a location, you enter a genre, and then it creates a bunch of things for like this Gemini, like AI created city, and then at the end it renders a web page. Again, there's a bunch of stuff in here. You can look through these to get some ideas. Video marketer, there's a social media post thing, there's a recipe thing in here, personal podcast. Again, or you can just start from scratch. Let me show you the ones that I created. Again, this one's pretty straightforward. This is the name. You can name it up here. You can name it anything you want. This is basically, I created this for learning plans. And if I want to learn a topic quickly, or in a structured way at least, I can come in here and I can enter whatever the topic is and I want to learn, and then I can enter whatever format I want to learn it in. So if I want YouTube videos, if I want blog posts, if I want articles, if I want books, etc. And then I take those two things, so the topic plus the format, and then I feed it into Gemini 2.5 Flash. And then I have my prompt here that it's an expert educational planner, blah, blah, blah. And then your task is to generate a detailed and structured personalized learning plan outline. And it has some step-by-step instructions in here. And then at the end, it's going to generate a web page with auto layout and generate an aesthetically pleasing HTML web page that clearly displays a learning plan's outline structure. So, I mean, this is just a really straightforward way to gather input and put it into a model and then generate a web page. Now, you might look at something like this and think, well, yeah, I can just do that in Gemini. Why do I need this? And I'll go back and go to the other one that I have in here. And this one, it's a little hard to see because there's a lot in here, but I'll zoom in and then, actually, let me do it from the console. The difference in here, and I kind of touched on this with the other one, is I can separate out tasks that I want to do. So what this app is it basically takes whatever input I put in here and it runs it through the 6 thinking hats. And we have a ton of content with 6 thinking hats. If you're not familiar, it's basically a way to force different perspectives on something. So, I mean, one of them's what are the positive things that could happen, what are the negative things that could happen, what are the just like creative ideas, etc. And I have input, and then I run it through the 6 thinking hats, and then I also added a 7th hat, which is the unreasonable hat, which is basically, let's come down here, unconventional, seemingly illogical insights that challenge assumptions and offer surprising perspectives. And runs my idea through 6 original thinking hats and then my unreasonable hat, and then at the end it generates a well-structured HTML report that combines the analysis from all these things. The whole reason I created this was because I tried to create a prompt in Gemini and in ChatGPT and in Claude and in Perplexity and all of the major chatbots and some of the small ones that you've probably never heard of. And because this had so many different pieces and so many different analyses from different perspectives and whatever, it never really does that great of a job for all of them. And what I found is that when I use a tool like Opal, there are others that can do this, like N8N or whatever, but there are other tools. When I separate out the different hats, then the output is way, way, way better. And there are a lot of use cases where you would take like the same input and run it through multiple models like this, or you would take the output from one model and use that as input for another model, etc. But let me see. Let me actually run this. So if you go to preview, once you have everything built, you can go in here and actually run the app. So if I start, then it's just going to run through the steps. So the first thing was input. It's going to say enter text to describe the media for analysis. And let me copy and paste my prompt here. This is going to be kind of hard to read. But what I have in here is I want to start a landscaping business powered by a team of at least 30 goats. The goats will be transported via trailer to each location, spend 1 hour on site, and in that time, clear as much grass, weeds, etc. as they can. I do not have enough capital to cover all initial expenses for this business. However, my research tells me that there is enough demand to generate a substantial amount of revenue in the first 6 months. that's my prompt that's in here. Again, it's kind of small and hard to read in here, but that's in here. We submit, and then it's going to think, and it's going to go through, and it's going to run through all of the hats in here. And it might be hard to see, but there's a little animation that's showing all the stuff that's happening in here. But it's going to go through, and then let's see how long this takes. Eventually, when it's done, it'll generate a report that I can read here, and then it should let me download it. Give it another minute. If this takes too long, I'll just cut it out of the video and then edit when it's done, edit back in when it's done. So usually this one doesn't take that long, but it just depends on how busy their servers are. Okay, that took a couple minutes, so I cut that time out. And so now here's the report, and I can read it in here. I'm going through this kind of fast because I'm going to download it and then show you the actual web page of it, but the whole report is over here, and then I have an option to download the file. So I'll do that, and open this. There. That's the wrong one. Okay, so here's the report. And now again, the layout might not be exactly how I want it to look, so I can go back and I can change the prompt so that this looks exactly how I want. So the actual look isn't really the focus of this, but this is an HTML page that created that basically has all the details of the report. And this is title, and this is Goat Tech Innovation. I didn't give it a name, so it made up a name, which is fine. And then it goes through. Now remember, I had the different analyses in there. So if I go back to Opal and look at console, this is actually just running through. Like, this will tell me each analysis and then which model it called and then how long it took to generate the output. But if you remember, I just had input and then I had it go through a white hat analysis, a red hat analysis, and etc. So when we come to the report, here's the white hat analysis, and the white hat is just basically what are the facts of the matter. And okay, so we'll go through business concept. There, operation size, team of 30 goats, logistics. I mean, these are the facts from the prompt. And red hat is your emotional and intuitive response, and you can read through that. It evokes enthusiasm, warm chuckle, quirky delight, etc. Black hat analysis is basically the risks, like what could go wrong with this. And so this core problem capital, which I call that out. I don't have enough money to do this. So it's like, okay, here's that. And then keeps going. Goat management challenges. May not clear all vegetation. True, I said only for an hour, so sure. That's valid, leading to client dissatisfaction. Property damage risk, absolutely. Transportation costs, absolutely. Unrealistic site duration, again, 1 hour visit really wouldn't be long enough. The goat landscaping businesses that I've seen, because that is a thing, by the way, they usually stay for like at least 4 hours. So an hour is, I intentionally made that unrealistic to see what it would say about it. Insufficient work, dissatisfaction, eroded profitability, agreed. Waste management, absolutely. Unsubstantiated demand, maybe, etc. Yellow hat analysis. Yellow hat is basically the positive, so it's the things that could go well. Unique and novel business model. I don't know if it's unique, but okay, it's rare at least. Strong market demand identified. I pointed that out in my prompt, so that's true, etc. So now these are the positives. Green hat is creative ways you could approach whatever your prompt is or whatever your idea is. So founder's flaw, community subscription model, that is interesting. Blah, 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 tiered benefits. Okay, yeah, that's interesting. Blue hat analysis is really just the kind of the summary of everything and then what you want to do. So this is just going to pull everything in. This is a summary, and then the unreasonable hat, which I already showed you that prompt, It's just like, what's just illogical ways you could approach this? And blah, blah, blah. What does that say? Mobile goat art performance and soil enhancement. Nice. Charge exorbitant fees for 30 goats to descend upon a site for precisely 58 minutes, creating a living sculpture of temporary disruption and soil enrichment. Leftover pellets sold as premium hyper-local fertilizer. Fantastic. Okay. Funding model could be a goat share program. That is interesting. Mobile goat confession booth. So I mean, again, there's just a lot of information here, but that's really the point. But it's like I started with, I have this idea, and here is the constraint that I'm aware of, but analyze it and present it. And you know, I mean, this app works really well. I've used this multiple times. I've gotten better results from using this than I have from using Gemini for this type of thing, because it has, you know, basically 7 different calls to the model here. Like this, something like this makes more sense. So again, those are just a couple of examples of what you can do in here. But the whole idea, again, going back to one, just kind of recapping everything, just go to opal.google. You'll need a Google account, and you need to accept their privacy, I don't know, agreement, whatever it's called. It mainly just says that whatever account you're using, Opal is going to have like full access to your Google Drive. If that's not okay, then make a new account that has nothing in your Google Drive or whatever. But that was kind of the big thing, is that like it has to have full access to your Google Drive. And then I would just look at the site and look at these that they already have in here. So opal.google, and you come here, you can look through their gallery, you can click on one of them, and you can use it as is. So if I come into this one, and I can just click start, and it'll run it just like the one I just showed you. Or you could hit remix, and it'll take a minute, but then it'll actually make it now. Remix is gone, and now I can actually change stuff. So if I want to have another generate, and then put this to that, and then put a new prompt here, and you know, etc. Now I can change the built-in ones once I remix it. I can rename it to anything I want. But come into, and then now it shows up in my apps. Come to opal.google, and then look through the gallery and run one or more of these apps as is, or remix it, and then just start playing around. Or if you have some ideas, then just go right into create new and just either prompt Gemini to create what you want, or just start using the building blocks and build something. And again, as soon as you build it, you can preview it and run it, and then see how it goes, and then just, you know, keep tuning it until you get what you want. But once you get something, like I said, like let's say you make a blog post writer. Once you get that the way you want it, now you can just, you know, churn out blog posts a lot faster than you could before. And if you do like social media posts, or like I said, I think the business profile is a really good one, where it's just like you have it set up the way that you want it for, you know, your competition, or maybe your affiliate possibilities or whatever, and then you can just go through and just keep feeding it names and getting that output, and just going really, really fast compared to how you would do things manually. That's Opal, and I don't know, however long that was, 20 minutes. It is Google's mini AI app building tool. Take a look at it, see what you think. See you next time.